welcome to Digital Stratosphere, the podcast that provides independent and technology agnostic advice to help organizations through their digital transformation journeys. My name is Kyler Cheatham, and I am your host today. Thank you for joining us. Remember, we release new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with special guests joining us each Wednesday. In today's episode, we are going to dive into the supply chain pains and gains. Obviously, a very relevant topic now. We've been putting out tons of content on supply chain, and I'm very excited to welcome Mitch Ottoson, Senior Manager here at Third Stage, to help us unpack this really critical issue. So thanks so much, Mitch, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's jump in and let's start from the beginning. Can you provide kind of a brief explanation of what supply chain is and why it is so important, specifically right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So supply chain is really the operations and the order of operations that our consumer goods take in order to get from raw material into the finished good that you purchase off of somewhere like Amazon. And so it's the entire step and journey that all of your products take to get to your doorstep.
Excellent. And so can you kind of explain to us how you at Third Stage interact with supply chain with our community of clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working with several clients that are in the manufacturing space right now. And some of their biggest challenges involve figuring out how they're going to get their raw materials to be able to keep up with the high demand that they're experiencing. It seems like everyone has record high demand, and they're trying to figure out what's the best way to make sure that I can have all the raw materials that I need to meet this demand and take advantage of this opportunity that my business has been presented with.
Sure. That makes so much sense. And there's a ton of news coverage regarding supply chain right now. And so why right at this very current climate are we worried about supply chain so much?
That's a really good question. And I think that it's important because we're experiencing unprecedented times and circumstances right now, and it's causing disruptions everywhere. A supply chain really is a system and an ecosystem, and we're experiencing disruptions throughout the entire system that are really causing pain and headache, and ultimately result in higher costs for consumers at the end of the day all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've all seen those very daunting satellite images of kind of all of those cargo ships outside the LA ports and things like that. So why is that blockage happening?
I've never seen anything like that before, and I hope to never see anything like that again. Really, it's the disruption that we talked about earlier, where there has been a shortage of labor to be able to unpack those cargo ships, to be able to take them out of the port and truck them across the country to get to their final destination. But even before that, so many of our goods were produced in China, and during the heights of the COVID-19 pandemic, they weren't able to be in factories and be able to be producing things, and that really caused a huge disruption to our ecosystem that we're just now seeing the effects of, several months later.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting, that domino effect, because you would expect kind of the heightened issues, which obviously we experienced a lot of disruption in the beginning phases of the COVID-19 pandemic, but now kind of as we've evolved to understand what life is like with going through a global health pandemic, it seems like now the supply chain, that ripple effect has really hit the consumer, and trying to understand what that means to be a consumer in 2022, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like everywhere you turn, there's a labor shortage somewhere, there's a supply chain shortage that's not allowing us to get the things that we need. And on top of that, we just keep buying stuff. And when demand is at record highs like this, businesses are scrambling to try and figure out, how can I meet this demand, and what do I have to do to make it happen? So I would say that we are causing issues throughout the supply chain, and that's caused by unprecedented demand and the inability to deliver the supply.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Would you say that the transition, because I know you've helped a lot of our clients go through a transition, that they were kind of forced into a transformation because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Would you say that because e-commerce or digital marketplaces have kind of blown up. Is that a big reason of why we're experiencing additional heightened demand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very thankful that the clients that we have worked with have identified the need to go through this transformation, and that COVID was a hopefully a positive driver for that that'll help to set their business forward and allow them to be thriving on the other side of the pandemic. But I think it's e-commerce. Everyone is looking for that Amazon type experience, and that's really become our expectation as consumers. I want to click a couple buttons and walk out to my front doorstep and have it arrive a couple days later. In addition to that, like we were talking about before, the demand for just about every single product is really high. There was a huge spike in the cost of lumber not too long ago.
Mhm.
Building has been at an all-time high. Construction, not and home improvement projects. People are all of a sudden at home and decide to do DIY projects, and again, just so much demand for these things that it was really unexpected, and it's really causing a lot of our clients to pivot in the way that they look at their businesses.
Absolutely. I was so ready to build a she shed out in our backyard, but my husband was like, our husband, my husband was like, no, absolutely not. Mostly because he feels as though he would be doing most of the work. And, he's not wrong about that. But I felt
He's not
like,
wrong.
no, he's not wrong. He's much more handy than I am. But that is such a good point because we've been focusing a lot on our third stage content side and just infrastructure planning. So those
Yeah.
high growth industries, like you just touched on, construction, building. And then we've also seen a huge amount of growth in renewable energies since the
Yeah.
pandemic, and then aerospace and defense and what those look like. So definitely go kind of check those out. We have a few blogs and videos on those. And Eric and I kind of talked about the chip shortage as well, which has caused, obviously a huge disruption in many of our technology product development. So probably the most important question of the day, Mitch, as a dad, is Christmas canceled
Oh my
because of
gosh.
supply chain?
I'm so thankful that my daughter is young enough to not really know what's going on and to be nervous about Santa coming. I do think that Santa will still be coming, but I think that folks really need to be prepared earlier this year and to spread out their purchases as much as they can. I've seen several retailers extend, and Black Friday's already been extended over the last several years, where
Right.
it was
Yeah.
just one day, then it became a week, and now we're looking at Black Friday in October, and really stretching that out to allow consumers to get those discounts and those prices that they're looking for, that they've been waiting for all year for the holiday season. That's one avenue that retailers are taking to try and fight against the spike in demand that they know is coming. So get out and do your shopping early is my best recommendation. That's what I'll be doing, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for helping us break down these really basic concepts of supply chain. I think it's a neat time to be a consumer in the fact that we get that deeper level of understanding of what's kind of happening. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Mitch and I are going to dig into how organizations can overcome this supply chain pain.
If you are involved in any sort of digital transformation or business change initiative, you will want to download the 2021 Digital Transformation Report. With its comprehensive overview of business and technology trends and best practices, this report is a must-have guide for any transformation project or executive team. Download this free report by visiting Third Stage Consulting at thirdstage-consulting.com. You can also visit our website to learn more about us, or download independent reports, videos, and other best practices. Again, visit thirdstage-consulting.com today to learn how to take your transformation to the third stage of success.
Welcome back to Digital Stratosphere Podcast. I'm Kyler Cheatham, speaking with Mitch Ottoson from Third Stage Consulting about the supply chain pain versus gain. So Mitch, let's jump back in and kind of focus on how we can overcome these supply chain obstacles. We talked about consumers and what their experience was with these supply chain disruptions, but I want to know about organizations. How have they been influenced by these issues?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, we're seeing this across all different verticals, across all different industries. It seems like no one is immune
Mhm.
to the supply chain issues that we're experiencing. So now really is a good time to make that investment in upgrading technology to be able to get some of those advanced analytics and some more of those uh, softwares that allow you to do what if scenarios to be able to better account for these types of situations, identify bottlenecks, and to be able to make the best decision for their business.
Sure, absolutely. And I think you touched on this, but there really is no industry that you've seen that is immune. Are there any industries, you had mentioned construction earlier, but any other industries that have been really highly impacted that you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know as a consumer, the automotive industry has been heavily impacted by this. We were looking for a new car, and it was insane the amount of
Oh, wow.
uh, prices that we were up against, lack of deals that were out there. It's unlike any environment that I've ever seen when buying a car. One of my clients that I'm working with right now is in the aerospace and defense industry, and I thought, hey, maybe they might be somewhat immune to this, but the electrical components, the parts that they need, all the way down to the special adhesives that they need, all either come from China or their raw materials come from China, and their suppliers are having a hard time getting stuff over to them. So it really is a challenge for just about everyone, and it impacts just about every business that I've come across.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so tough because a lot of times people say, well, just switch suppliers, but that's never been an option before. It's not a high competition area. You know, usually there's just one supplier with those raw materials or those pre-assembled raw materials, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Or there's a lot of companies out there that have taken the if it's not broke, don't fix it approach. And
Mm,
they've stuck with one supplier because they've always done business with them. It's just easier to do that. And really, we're seeing that you have to get creative when it comes to your supply chain and looking for alternative paths and options because you never know when something like this could happen. I hope. I don't expect another global pandemic to hit, but it can, things can happen, and other shocks can hit an ecosystem like a supply chain like this, and folks really do need to be ready for it.
right, absolutely. So, this conversation has been such sunshine and rainbows so far. Is Christmas canceled? So I kind of want to focus on knowing that many things are out of our control as
Mhm.
businesses. But what
Yeah.
are some things that organizations can do to overcome these supply chain issues?
I think it really gets down to some of the basics. I think it's important to note a lot of folks or a lot of the experts aren't expecting the supply chain woes to go away anytime soon. There are some large scale efforts that are taking place, like a lot of production is being moved to Mexico. A lot of microchip processors are moving to the United States where they were in China. So those are some long-term solutions that can help
Mhm.
the problem, but there's some immediate steps that you can take to be able to get to when the long-term stuff takes place. And I think that's really thoroughly evaluating every step of your supply chain, looking for additional vendors that you can look for, looking for additional buy opportunities where you could take advantage of buying more quantity if a vendor does have something that you need. Um, you could also go through and look for alternatives and replacements. This is a great opportunity to evaluate what goes into your product and
Mhm.
determine if it's absolutely necessary, if there's another option, especially knowing that, hey, consumers are showing that they're willing to absorb the increase in cost.
Right.
So if there's a higher, more quality component to your product that you've been putting off adding, maybe now's a good time to add it into your product and see if consumers react the way that you expect them to.
Yeah, definitely. And then what about like business process management when it comes to evaluating your processes, looking for some efficiencies? Is that something that our clients can do or you advise our clients to do to kind of help with supply chain management?
Oh, absolutely. There's always opportunities to get more and more efficient. There's always excuse me, there's always an opportunity to get more efficient. There's always an opportunity to look at your internal processes and see what you can streamline, because there's often times where our clients have found that they are the bottleneck. And really, our clients need to be able to react quickly. And so reducing some of their own internal red tape has allowed them to take advantage of opportunities when raw materials are available or labor is available to be able to make quick hiring decisions. Becoming more and more efficient is a great way to navigate these uncertain times.
Excellent. And then I know obviously you're a software expert when it comes to helping companies choose software that might help with things like labor shortages. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some emerging technologies like AI or machine learning to work with processes that can be automated throughout this labor shortage that might help?
Yeah, absolutely. So with machine learning and some artificial intelligence, we're finding that there are more and more solutions today that will allow users to be able to react to information more quickly. I think a lot of folks, when they hear machine learning, think that the computers are taking over and that it's going to replace the people. But the way that I see it impacting businesses is that it gets the right information to the right people at the right time. And so a lot of our clients have very smart, very capable people on their staffs that really just need to have the right information to be able to make a good informed decision. And that's what these softwares are really enabling them to do. They're able to enter in some of what they're seeing, whether it be product lead time or identify bottlenecks that are coming up, and it gives those people the tools to be able to go and take care of the situation.
Excellent. And it sounds like, based on what you're saying, there's some options for additional software support when it comes to being able to maximize what you can do with your supply chain right now. What about data and just kind of cleaning up your data, making it sparkly, usable, actionable, and that piece, that will that help with these supply chain issues?
I think that the key word that you hit on in there is actionable. The ability to take action on the information that's in your data and allow that to take shape is really a benefit of these new systems and the technology that's available in the market today. So it absolutely is. And the ability to take advantage of data that had been in a silo before, that existed in one part of the business but was not readily available to another to take action on, is a great opportunity for you to streamline business processes and to make the best decisions you can with the data that's available.
Excellent. Well, those are all such great tactics. Anything else you want to share when it comes to best practices regarding supply chain?
Yeah, I think in general, just taking a look at your entire process and sitting down and being thoughtful about how you want to go about doing things. It's so often that folks focus on running their business instead of working on their business. So taking that time to actually evaluate, does this make sense? Does this work with the current environment that we're in, or is there an opportunity for us to pivot the way that we do things? That's such a critical piece of running a successful business, and we're fortunate that we've had clients that are doing just that and bringing us on board to help them out with that. So continuing that exercise or starting that exercise for the first time is the biggest piece of advice I could give any business owner.
Definitely being intentional about that supply chain mapping, it sounds like, is really kind of the first step to fixing any blockage that you may experience. So if some of our listeners or our community today want some additional information on supply chain resources, what would you suggest for them?
I would recommend definitely reaching out to us. Here at Third Stage, we really do a good job of working to understand a supply chain, all the components and pieces that go into it, and help to make recommendations on how to streamline your processes and any opportunities for efficiencies. So yeah, I would definitely recommend reaching out to us. My contact information is included in the podcast notes. We just published our 2021 digital transformation report. We've got some recent supply chain videos, some great blog posts about the topic. So definitely reach out to Third Stage and see how we can help you. That's my biggest recommendation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mitch, for being here today. We're out of time, and thank you all of you for listening. We will see you on our next episode of Digital Stratosphere Podcast.